Tractors are rolling through the France capital. Police are lining the streets, and farmers are confronting power at the gates of France's democracy. This is not just a protest, it is a warning. French farmers say a European trade deal could destroy their livelihoods, and they are taking that message straight to Parliament. Dozens of angry farmers drove tractors into Paris on Thursday, converging on the National Assembly. They're protesting the European Union's push to finalize a free trade agreement with Mercosur nations. That deal would open European markets to agricultural imports from Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Uruguay. French farmers have opposed it for years. They argue it would undercut domestic producers, particularly livestock breeders, and they say it would expose them to unfair competition from countries with lower standards. Thursday's demonstration was organized by the Rural Coordination Union. Its goal was simple: to pressure the French government to block the deal. Farmers gathered outside Parliament under heavy police surveillance. Officers formed tight lines as tractors edged closer to the seat of power. Footage shows protesters wearing yellow hats, chanting and pushing against police. Tensions flared as officers blocked tractor convoys from advancing. In one moment of defiance, farmers removed a Paris city limit sign. It was a symbolic rejection of restrictions placed on their protest. Authorities had banned tractors from entering central Paris, but some convoys forced their way through. The Interior Ministry says around 20 tractors reached the city center. Others were stopped at key access points around the capital. Farmers blocked roads with tractors and cars after being halted. Placards read, "Let's save today's agriculture for our children tomorrow." José Perez, president of the Rural Coordination in southwestern France, said the protest was symbolic. He said farmers wanted to bring their demands directly to those who hold power. Perez warned that opposition to the Mercosur deal is now merging with anger over government health measures. Those measures are aimed at stopping the spread of a bovine disease. For farmers, he said, the pressure is coming from all sides.
Of course we must reject Mercosur. We must reject it. Whether the French state is actually in a position to do so, I don't know. Today, one of the primary demands, but was the drop of water that has made the vase overflow, is the nodular dermatosis. Stop the total culling. Mass vaccination is necessary. Farmers must be able to earn a decent income, and to achieve this, we need a moratorium, an agricultural moratorium on French regulations. We must stop these French regulations that implement more and more standards, more and more constraints, more and more controls. There are European regulations. Let's apply them to the letter, and that's it.
Some protesters traveled extraordinary distances to be heard. Ludovic Dupuy came from Corsica by boat, tractor, and train. He accused President Emmanuel Macron of failing to stop the deal, and he demanded that the president publicly and forcefully defend farmers.
We are asking for the government to be clear, for the policies to be clear, for them to say no to Mercosur, to assert themselves as other countries have already done, and that's really what we're advocating for, clarity in the government's decisions. We would like the government to understand that today we cannot compete with other countries, particularly South American countries, but today in France we are not in the same league. Therefore, production costs in those countries are much lower. They are much less expensive, whether it's in terms of raw materials or labor. In France, all of this is much higher, so we cannot compete against those countries, and moving forward with this agreement would be killing French agriculture. We would like the government to understand that today we cannot compete with other countries, particularly South American countries, but today in France we are not in the same league. Therefore, production costs in those countries are much lower. They are much less expensive, whether it's in terms of raw materials or labor. In France, all of this is much higher, so we cannot compete against those countries, and moving forward with this agreement would be killing French agriculture.
The Rural Coordination says farmers expect quick and effective decisions. They warn that patience has run out.
What's happening here is a gathering called by the Rural Coordination regarding the current agricultural situation and the mobilization taking place in Paris because we are present in the city. Tractors have entered Paris around the Eiffel Tower, the Arc of Triomphe, and along the Ring Road. So this is a continuation of our action with the tractors, and now we are going to meet our MPs, specifically to discuss the agricultural situation and try to find solutions with them. At the moment, it's somewhat difficult to find solutions with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture, so we need to speak with our parliamentarians. It's essential. What we are going to request, we have grievances on various topics: regulations, unfair competition, the overall economic situation of farms, water issues, and many other subjects. We have all our grievances. Yes, Mercosur, unfortunately, we suspected it would be signed, clearly because Miss von der Leyen is the one who signs it, and France has almost no influence over these decisions. It takes several countries to make an impact, and here we will be more or less alone with Poland. So unfortunately, it will be signed. Unfortunately, because it will be terrible for farmers, especially livestock breeders, and also for French producers. This is our place. They told us to come and support them at 10 a.m. in front of the assembly. We are here. We called on the patriots to come. I don't know where the other parties are. They're not interested. I don't know where the MPs are either. Maybe they're still asleep. In any case, we are here. I was with them early this morning at the Eiffel Tower blockade. I think it's remarkable that they managed to come to Paris. It's very powerful. But now we must leave the European Union. There is no other solution. That's what must be demanded. Frexit. If we want to take control of our trade agreements and our food and agricultural sovereignty, we must leave the EU. Otherwise, we're done for. They're done for, or we're all done for collectively. We've known for years anyway that it was going to be signed. It's an outrageous hypocrisy to have made people believe otherwise. A country that doesn't control its trade agreements is finished. They've known for years that Mercosur would be signed, but Ms. von der Leyen is already on the next one. She's already negotiating the agreement with India, 1.4 billion people. One can imagine the enormous damage this will cause. So it's urgent to save French agriculture, otherwise it will disappear. The aim is to leave the European Union, negotiate our own trade agreements, and take back control of our food sovereignty. That's the only solution, and French agriculture will have a wonderful, wonderful future.
Protesters directed anger at Agriculture Minister Annie Genevard. She accuses her of failing to protect French farming. Genevard insists France remains opposed to the Mercosur deal. She says it threatens sectors including beef, poultry, sugar, ethanol, and honey. Meanwhile, talks continue in Brussels. The EU has resumed internal negotiations this week. Supporters of the deal, led by Germany, may push it through despite French opposition. There is speculation it could be signed in Paraguay on January 12th. Last month, fierce resistance from France temporarily derailed the agreement, but farmers fear time is running out. After talks with the Speaker of the National Assembly, the head of the FNSEA union issued a warning. Arnaud Rousseau said fresh agricultural legislation must be debated by early spring. He said once the presidential campaign begins, meaningful action will become harder.
The President of the Senate received us, and the Speaker of the National Assembly received us. Now it's up to them to say how we proceed. That's for the national issue. That's on the national level. But I don't forget that the European issue is also crucial. We'll be able to gauge how much influence France really has as soon as this weekend. My fear is that France no longer carries enough weight in Europe, or in any case, not enough to defend its French agricultural interests. We will continue this fight because we will never accept products entering France that are made using methods or substances that have sometimes been banned in Europe for over 25 years. This protects consumers and public health, and I repeat it, our farms cannot be relocated. For us, this is an existential fight, and we will keep going. We're coming out of an agricultural framework bill where we were strung along for 2.5 years before a slot was finally found. So clearly, we cannot wait any longer. We also know that the presidential election period is coming and that the debate we are calling for on agriculture and its ambition for this country needs to be settled. We believe it is absolutely necessary to find parliamentary time by March or April. She did not, of course, give us a precise answer, but once again, the FNSEA has made a very clear request. Yes or no, can we have a bill, and can we have it in a time frame that delivers concrete answers for farmers? We need a budget so that the promises made to the farming sector can be delivered. In wine growing in particular, the current crisis needs short-term solutions and not requires a budget to be adopted. It is then up to Parliament to decide the framework, and we fully respect parliamentary debate, but we need a budget for this country to function. And agriculture needs a budget if the promises made to farmers are to be honored.
Belgian farmers have taken their protest to the roads, blocking the Haute-Ytre highway interchange around 30 kilometers south of Brussels. The action targets the proposed free trade agreement between the European Union and Mercosur nations, which farmers say threatens their livelihoods. Meanwhile, in France, anger has boiled over. Farmers removed a Paris city limit sign in a symbolic act of defiance as fury grows over the Mercosur deal and a ban on tractor protests in the capital.
What we want, obviously, is to show that our disagreement is still very much there and that we are not passive about what is currently developing. Apparently, she is expected to take off to go and sign on Monday, and we would like this to be not yet another postponement, but a definitive no. There is a lot of pain, there's a lot of anger, and it's becoming more and more tense, whether it's here in France or in neighboring countries that are part of Europe. It's really something that concerns all of us and will impact all of us. So the feeling is very, very special because we have a real feeling of abandonment. We are here because it's also a bit of the final stretch to fight against Mercosur. The fight is not lost, so we still have the lawyer to hammer the point home tonight. We are listening to all of you, all 400 or 500 members of Congress, everyone, all of them, telling us we don't approve. But then how come she's keeping him in the government? Do you realize what it means to slaughter thousands of cows as she does? But when are the trees going to crack? No, but yes, but the whole problem, all the politicians tell us, all of them, and it continues. So you're shitting yourselves by shitting yourselves. It's thanks to us. How come it's still going on? Because there's still a scandal in there. Damn it, do something. It's because you're here that you're talking about it at the left front. No, but we need to talk about it. No, but are you talking about this among yourselves to recruit people for your political party? Go get them, bring them back, damn it. And damn it, wait, we drove 500 kilometers with our tractors to come see you. Can't you drive 2 kilometers to come meet us? It's a disgrace. That's a shame, sir.